This is the end of week 2, so next week will be week 3. So this is week 3 success video, and I'm hoping to get a little ahead. Usually by about October, we get the messages of people being overwhelmed and not really sure what to do about their time, and so I wanted to kind of get ahead of that, and hopefully give you some tips that'll help you manage your time and be successful. And if you look at, these are comments from my class survey at the end of last year. I have a couple pages, I just screenshot some samples. I'm not going to read these to you. You can pause it if you want to read them, but the amount of time we see, work consistently, stay on schedule, it's not so hard to catch up. All right, there's one page, there's another page, you got to work a little bit at a time. You got to work consistently. You got to make sure that you're scheduling your own time. And a lot of you said this in your videos. When I asked the question, what was hard about online learning? Most of you know that it's managing your own time. All right, so we see that over and over again. So I want to give you some pointers on managing your time. I'm going to play this video here. I hope I'm not breaking any rules. It's not my video. It's a TED Ed. I just wanted to have it here all in one video. And I'm going to play this video, and then I'm going to kind of share with you how this really helped me, because when I first started teaching online, I had a lot of the same problems that students had. So here's on how to manage your time like a computer, and then I'm going to talk about this a little bit.
In the summer of 1997, NASA's Pathfinder spacecraft landed on the surface of Mars and began transmitting incredible, iconic images back to Earth. But several days in, something went terribly wrong. The transmissions stopped. Pathfinder was, in effect, procrastinating, keeping itself fully occupied, but failing to do its most important work. What was going on? There was a bug, it turned out, in its scheduler. Every operating system has something called the scheduler that tells the CPU how long to work on each task before switching, and what to switch to. Done right, computers move so fluidly between their various responsibilities, they give the illusion of doing everything simultaneously. But we all know what happens when things go wrong. This should give us, if nothing else, some measure of consolation. Even computers get overwhelmed sometimes. Maybe learning about the computer science of scheduling can give us some ideas about our own human struggles with time. One of the first insights is that all the time you spend prioritizing your work is time you aren't spending doing it. For instance, let's say when you check your inbox, you scan all the messages, choosing which is the most important. Once you've dealt with that one, you repeat. Seems sensible, but there's a problem here. This is what's known as a quadratic time algorithm. With an inbox that's twice as full, these passes will take twice as long, and you'll need to do twice as many of them. This means 4 times the work. The programmers of the operating system Linux encountered a similar problem in 2003. Linux would rank every single one of its tasks in order of importance, and sometimes spent more time ranking tasks than doing them. The programmer's counterintuitive solution was to replace this full ranking with a limited number of priority buckets. The system was less precise about what to do next, but more than made up for it by spending more time making progress. So with your emails, insisting on always doing the very most important thing first could lead to a meltdown. Waking up to an inbox 3 times fuller than normal could take 9 times longer to clear. You'd be better off replying in chronological order or even at random. Surprisingly, sometimes giving up on doing things in the perfect order may be the key to getting them done. Another insight that emerges from computer scheduling has to do with one of the most prevalent features of modern life: interruptions. When a computer goes from one task to another, it has to do what's called a context switch, bookmarking its place in one task, moving old data out of its memory, and new data in. Each of these actions comes at a cost. The insight here is that there's a fundamental trade-off between productivity and responsiveness. Getting serious work done means minimizing context switches. But being responsive means reacting anytime something comes up. These two principles are fundamentally in tension. Recognizing this tension allows us to decide where we want to strike that balance. The obvious solution is to minimize interruptions. The less obvious one is to group them. If no notification or email requires a response more urgently than once an hour, say, then that's exactly how often you should check them. No more. In computer science, this idea goes by the name of interrupt coalescing. Rather than dealing with things as they come up, oh, the mouse was moved, a key was pressed, more of that file downloaded, the system groups these interruptions together based on how long they can afford to wait. In 2013, interrupt coalescing triggered a massive improvement in laptop battery life. This is because deferring interruptions lets a system check everything at once, then quickly re-enter a low-power state. As with computers, so it is with us. Perhaps adopting a similar approach might allow us users to reclaim our own attention and give us back one of the things that feels so rare in modern life: rest. Are you interested in improving your own time and task management?
So I hope that you found that interesting. And next, I want to share kind of what I learned and how I started organizing myself. Um, the most obvious he talked about is to minimize your distractions and to do one thing at a time. And part of that is grouping too, because so what I do is I let things build up in my email box that need to be graded. You can see I could go in there and show you what I graded this morning, and then I do other things and it fills up, and then I'll grade again when I'm done making these videos. But I also turn off everything else. Social media is turned off. You're not going to see a tab up here with social media. My phone is turned off. It's not near me. I even you'll see there's no Teams down here turned on right now because I don't want to be interrupted, and so I turn those things off. The next thing is I don't, like they talk about sitting and making a priority list every day is not that particularly useful. What I find is just doing things in a routine. I think about my order of operations. So this is the order in which I do my things every day, and I do it the same way every day. Over time, I've worked out things that work for me. So grading, getting those things done. I typically find time when there's not very many students asking questions so that I can grade and I'm not making people wait. And the other thing is that, and this was just hinted at as a little bit, is that you have to not have your short-term memory, your working memory being occupied all the time. You can't kind of like, did I do this? Did I not do this? Because if you leave it like that, you're going to feel overwhelmed just by trying to remember everything. So I have a couple of systems. My tabs up here are one thing. So these are things that I'm working on, and I don't get rid of them if I'm using them. There's some tabs that are always up. But the other thing I do, and this would be very useful for you, I think, in your email, is that you use folders in your email. So what's either in the lessons come into my clutter box, and assignments come into my inbox, and I leave these here until I deal with them. When it's grading an assignment, I just delete it. I don't need it anymore. It's gone. When it's one of the lessons, and this one has nothing written in it, it's not that important. If there's things in here that I might want to look at again, like the work you've written, then I put it in a file for the class and I keep it organized. So my work is organized, but it also means that these are the things I need to deal with, right, till I get to last week. Sometimes I leave it there because I don't know where to file it, but the other things are that those are the things that I'm done and I'm finished with. So kind of not having yourself, the routine and those two things help me not have to think about stuff all the time. Like, am I forgetting it? Am I not? And that makes you feel less stressed. The other thing is that a lot of you already have this at this point, is a schedule when you're going to work. But if you don't have a schedule, I'm going to kind of force it a little bit. I can't really, come out and punish you if you don't use this, but I think it's very helpful to write down when you're working and to have it be the same time every week. So whether you're working daily or every other day, I'm going to share a file on Teams this weekend and ask you to write in when you're working. It'll also help me kind of organize. Maybe I'll do some group calls for the individual calls so that we can get through those faster. I do have 85 students, so trying to have 85 phone calls in a week is going to be a little bit challenging. So if I can kind of see when you guys are working at the same time, I'll try to group those a little bit. The next thing it talks about is breaks, right? We have to schedule breaks for ourselves. My brain can't do this for more than 45 minutes at a time, and I have a lot of experience with it. So nobody expects you to sit at a computer for a long period of time. Scheduling breaks is very important. But there's some things to think about when you schedule a break. Number one, you know the things that you start to do. That puts you down that rabbit hole of lost time, right? It's different for every person. Maybe it's, I start watching one YouTube video for a break and then something else is interesting and I just can't pull myself back to work because watching those videos is more interesting. I mean, Netflix's whole business is based off of this. Like when I was your age, we had to wait a whole week to get to see the next episode, and you can just go right to the next episode. It's actually, I know most of you will not believe this too much. I do watch kind of nonfiction YouTube videos a lot. I like a lot of the psychological ones I share with you, but I don't have a TV in my house and I don't watch Netflix on my computer or my phone or anywhere. And I came to this realization, I think I was about 19 in university, and I thought to myself, oh, I need to be home Wednesday night. There's this thing I want to watch. And then I'm like, do I really want to organize my whole life around what I'm going to watch on TV? And I came to the decision that that there was many other things in my life I wanted to do besides watch TV. And so I've never gone back to it. Anyways, don't put yourself down that rabbit hole of lost time. Take a break. It should be something that is restful. This is one of my favorites. This is 8 minutes long. It's very relaxing music, and I actually feel this one does have some research to it that your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system that makes you calm down, that by listening to this sort of thing that you do calm yourself. So doing something that's calming, listening to something like this, if you do brain breaks on YouTube, brain breaks, or Google it, there's lots of different little short exercise things. One of my kids' favorite one is we put on the Ghostbusters song and we run in place. And then when it says Ghostbusters, we do a push-up. And that's just a way of getting our brain going again. And it's a real break, and it doesn't make you feel lethargic the way maybe just sitting and watching something would. So schedule your breaks wisely. And last is you can be your own rewarder. It takes a bit to establish yourself in this and make it a habit, but give yourself a reward when you stay on task and you finish something. With this, I can tell, I don't know if you noticed it, but a lot of these times, 21 minutes for a lesson, oh, that was 3 hours, that one was working, 36 minutes for a lesson, 25 minutes for a lesson, 23 minutes for a lesson. I really try for algebra and advanced math 1. I really don't want the lesson to take more than 40 minutes, and I tried really hard. If you find lessons are taking you a long time, then we need to talk about why. But make a reward. You can have a time as a reward. You get to go do the things you want to do. I say to my own children all the time, do you really want the kind of job where somebody's going to tell you what to do and stand over you and make sure you get it done in that time? I mean, that's kind of what learning in the classroom is. That somebody's going to say, here's what you got to do, and I'm going to watch you until you do it. More and more of our work is done like this. Nobody checks on me to see what I'm doing. I'm given a task, and I need to get it done. And the best reward is my own time to do what I want when I do my task and I get it finished. So I hope that was helpful on time management. And if you need extra help, just write me and we can talk about it some more.